Awesome. Today is Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. This is a meeting of the SIG Network Policy API subgroup to SIG Network. This is a CNCF sponsored meeting. And yeah, so please be nice to each other and don't use any horrible language. And let's have a good meeting today. So on the agenda, there's not too much. Raul, I was on vacation. I got back and I saw your PR. I gave a review today. There's just a few little things. So if you could just get to those, then I'm definitely happy to merge it.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for opening a PR. I had done all this website stuff kind of as quickly as I possibly could to get something done. So I'm glad you're looking at it. I'm really happy to see that. Cool. And then, so you also added a question to the agenda about north-south traffic. We have been talking a bit about that. And I think Surya has specifically tried to address the egress case, the north traffic here. So maybe start there with a little bit of review and we can go from there if you think that makes sense, Raul.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Thanks for linking that.
Yeah, and so just you haven't been here in a little while. No worries. Kind of to catch you up, we've started like really ever since release 0.1.0, we've tried to kind of start modeling ourselves more so after Gateway API because they do a lot of awesome things. So we are going to start opening NPEPs, we're calling them, for new enhancements, kind of in line with the Gateway API GEPs. So that's kind of what that means. So we're still kind of figuring it all out, but it seems like a good way to standardize adding new use cases for later API releases.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll take a look at this and maybe just drop comments in that if I have any thoughts.
Perfect. Nadia, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think I have a couple more cases for ingress actually within cluster network. So I think I'll just open a similar PR as Surya has here, right? Because I know we tried to figure out the format and everything. So this one is like our current standard, right?
Correct. And I actually left a comment to that kind of saying like, we probably, as she makes this, just because she was the first one to open one, we should probably have a template, like just a simple one for NPEPs, and then you can follow that, if that makes sense, or you can help us here kind of make the template. But
yeah, I think I can just, I mean, if I want to open a new one, should I just like reach out and try to create this template and use it?
Yeah, just create a template, make sure Surya is on board. I don't really care if it's done by you or her. She's not here this week. I think she's at DevConf. So yeah, if you want to get to it first, no problem. But I think that's the best way to do it because then basically we'll kind of hash out any design questions we have here and merge it. The one thing I do want to figure out as part of the NPEP process is I don't think we need to have like, I want it to be like really easy for submitters to open, right? Like we don't want to have to hash out everything in the first merge of an NPEP. Like we want to be able to signify that, you know, we've all reviewed it, we think it makes sense, but there might still be some unanswered questions. I just don't know how to do that. So maybe if while you're creating a template, you have some ideas there, that'd be great.
Cool, I'll try to find something.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nadia. Cool. What else did I have on here? Are there any other questions about rules, PR, north-south traffic control in general? For folks who may be new here, I think I see some new names. The current version of the admin network policy and baseline admin network policy does not reference north-south traffic at all. It only focuses on east-west. But this is something folks are gonna, you know, this is something folks want. So we're trying to make sure we have support for it in the either V1 Alpha 2 or V1 Beta 1 version of the API. So we're working towards that. Cool. And what I'd like to do kind of as part of this is I have a project board right now for our journey to beta, and like it just has issues. I'm going to change this to contain just NPEPs. So then we'll have kind of like a list of enhancements that we want to have in before we get to beta, or even a V1 Alpha 1 too, if we feel like it needs to be there. Sweet. Okay. Thanks, Nadia. Thanks, Raul, for opening those. I did open an issue. I kind of talked to Yang about this out of band and got his preliminary approval. Basically, we went from 3 to 2 maintainers because Abhishek kind of had to step away. And so we'd like to get back to 3. And I'm proposing Dan Winship just because he has kind of been instrumental in all of this since the beginning. So if you could show your support here, I'll kind of let it soak for a week. And if there's no objections, I'll open a PR adding him as an approver. I think it'll help us get stuff done a little bit quicker. Cool. And then last but not least on the agenda, Nadia, I think this was what you were just talking about, right? Or you were talking about maybe an MPEP for tenancy?
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like we have the Google Doc around the new API
Correct.
for tenancy, right? And I thought maybe it is time to make it more official and post something, but I'm not sure what's the next step.
Yeah, I actually was rereading that. Let me find it so others can look at it as well. I think it's
should be in the agenda.
It is. It's just got nested back. So here it is. I'm just gonna bring up the link.
Yeah.
So I think kind of in line with what we've been doing, it makes the most sense to open an NPEP, and it can kind of just be based off Dan's document if that's the desire. I know Yang felt strongly about this and he's not here today, so it would definitely be good to make sure he's closely involved, and anyone else who's involved also or wants to get involved with the tenancy discussion. This would be a good place to do it. So NPEP seems to be the way to go. NPEP, I still can't say NPEP correctly.
So how should it look like? It's not like the new use case proposal, right? It's how we propose to rework the existing API. So that probably will have a different format or something.
Right. No, I totally agree. I think maybe, Nadia, what we should do is have a separate PR to kind of write some rules for what NPEP should look like. And then we can build this sort of use case into that, right? Like we can have a slightly different template or something for NPEPs that are trying to change something that's already there versus NPEPs that are introducing totally new.
Yeah, not every NPEP should be about the use case, right? But that's like a subgroup of the NPEPs we expect, I guess. So maybe we can, well, let people open it in more or less free format and then create some subgroups for something like proposing a new use case. And I don't know, maybe this tenancy API will be an example of proposing a change to the existing API. Then there may be some other types of NPEPs, I guess.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I mean, it's an open slate. Like we should definitely always look back at what Gateway API has done. I think they have a couple of different statuses, maybe. I haven't looked in a while. So we might be able to kind of take a version of that. But if we can keep it similar, I think at the end of the day, hopefully some of this work that we're both using, Gateway API and Network Policy API, will be put in one place. So like the specific enhancement proposal templates, maybe they can live somewhere else. So just keep that in mind. Cool. Awesome. And we don't have anything else on the agenda, so I'm gonna put Raul on the spot a little bit. Raul, do you know anything about Google kind of working to implement AMP in Cilium? Is that effort changed at all? I know we have an issue tracking it, but a long time ago, I thought that was the goal. So do you have any insights there?
No, it's good that you bring that up. That was something we were discussing recently. Long story short, there's still no super active development on that front. But while we were talking internally, we we were revisiting some of the points that are open in that issue against Cilium. I think one of the Cilium maintainers commented a point basically saying that priorities are going to be difficult for Cilium to implement. And I think we were wondering if anyone's played around with an eBPF version of admin network policy. I think some of the concerns around it were that perhaps the data structures that, maybe this is just a Cilium specific problem, maybe eBPF itself can handle this just fine. The concern was that the data structure used in Cilium today doesn't lend itself to priorities well. Right now, it's just a hash map, and you look up and see if your connection is allowed in the hash map. And if it is, then you move forward. You don't really consider an ordered list walk.
Correct. And some Cilium folks have voiced concerns about this before to me out of band. And my message to them was, please come to the upstream meetings. Like, please come get involved. Like, if this is not possible for you to implement, come say so. So that has yet to happen. So it's, my message is still the same, right? Like, I would love to hear more about their problems. They have to come get involved, right? Like,
yeah,
that's on them. As to whether or not this is impossible to do in eBPF, I haven't tried, but if that's something that would help you, Raul, like, I could possibly help out with that. It'd be interesting for me. I do a lot of BPF, so I can see how the data structures that are being used currently could be tough, but there might be some kind of design change that could make it a bit easier. I'd have to look at it. Like obviously priorities are harder to implement than in the data plane than, the additive policy rules that we've always had. Right. So, I don't know, every data plane struggles with it, especially when we're talking scale. So it's kind of finding that balance between ease of use and what's possible. So I don't really have an answer yet, but I'd be happy to explore.
Yeah, unfortunately on our side, I don't think we have anyone who has the bandwidth to really look at this and play around with prototypes, because I think our conclusion was there's ideas floating around, but until someone mocks something up and tries to throw some scale at it, we won't have any concept of whether it's actually feasible in the real world. And right. I think that's just where we're lacking the resources to get that done, to get a prototype out.
No, totally. I think the definition of scale is kind of relative though, right? Like, this priorities are basically like what people want. They're not the best in the data path, but I feel like it's what most customers ask for. It's what most customers expect. And whether that's a good thing or not, it is what it is, right? And I think us as API designers, right, we want to have an eye on scale, but at the same time, we're more concerned with what people want and what end users want. So I think it will be interesting as we get more implementations to see who struggles and who doesn't struggle. But my inclination is that everyone's going to struggle. Oven Kubernetes, Antria at OVS, like, there's going to be some challenges. So we will have to see what those numbers actually look like. I also think as we keep making more noise, folks at Cilium and other places may be more inclined to implement and try and prioritize this. So our goal from this group has just been like getting talks submitted, pushing the API to later stages, and hopefully getting more uptake from implementers.
Yeah. I will check in with, I know our team talks to the Cilium open source as well. I'll just check in and see if we've brought this up, if we can, whether we can get traction on the open source side of things.
Yeah, and I'm happy to reach out with them again. I would love for them to come here and get involved. It's kind of where it's at. But I'm not going to reach out every day and ask them.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, I'm happy to see you back here. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So in some of those efforts, we are trying to do a maintainers track talk for this subgroup in KubeCon North America. Nadia and folks have also submitted a talk on AMP or involving AMP, and then we have another separate talk about AMP. So hopefully there will be 3 separate talks concerning AMP and the Network Policy API to kind of help us spread knowledge about it. So that's our end goal. Cool. Is there anything else folks want to talk about today? Going once, going twice. Sold.
Nothing serious.
Oh,
Andrew,
hey, Yang.
but I was just hopping on because I was on the school run. I'm dropping my kid off. I'm still driving, so I just wanted to come in and say that for PR that opened, I think Surya and you have left a comment on. I'll get those addressed as soon as possible, and then I think that one should be able to merge. I think we discovered a small issue on the sample specs, right? So I'll get it fixed. I think probably today, and you can take a look at it again. But that's basically all from my side. And
okay,
and
no worries about
the
example. No worries about the example fixes, Yang. Raul actually has a patch to move those examples around, so I asked him just to fix it. It was a small fix.
All right.
So his PR should pick it up. But otherwise,
cool.
yeah, I'll keep an eye on yours as well.
All right, and I also wanted just to update that implementation in Entra is moving good overall. So I think I'm should be opening in PR for Entra support maybe in 1 or 2 weeks, I guess.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great news. Surya is working hard on the conformance test. So as you kind of spec out that PR, let's make sure you two are talking and you are trying to maybe run some of those conformance tests at least initially.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's great news. Thanks, Yang. That's really awesome. The other thing I think before you got here that we were talking about is I think Nadia is going to open an NPEP for us to talk more about how we represent tenancy, kind of coming from Dan's doc. And I know you were super interested in that. So just keep an eye out for that. We're still kind of figuring out the whole NPEP template and process, but I think that's going to be coming here in the near future.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thanks for letting me know.
Yep, 100%. Okay. Sorry, I hadn't seen you had hopped on, Yang, but we were just wrapping up unless you have anything else to talk about.
No, that's all from my side.
Cool. Well, thanks for stopping by, everybody. I look forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, just find us in Slack if you need anything or have any questions. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.